A certainty. It just depends on who that television partner will be.
Jim Boeheim, it seems like the tournament is working pretty well as it is. What would you think of expansion?
The most ridiculous concept I've ever heard is that you're not going to have a good tournament if you had a few teams. You mean Northern Iowa wouldn't be in and wouldn't be playing Kansas? That's ridiculous. Just because you expand doesn't change the basic teams in the tournament. It adds a few teams. I'm not saying 96 is the right number, but there's 4, 5, 6 teams out of the tournament this year that could have provided great competition for anybody that they played. And just think, what if Northern Iowa had lost their tournament, or Siena lost their tournament, or Cornell didn't win the Ivy League? They wouldn't be in the tournament, and it would be a shame. It would have weakened the tournament. So just because you add teams doesn't mean you're going to change the basic tournament we had. I remember when it was 48 teams, and everybody said then, oh, don't expand the tournament. You know, I mean, that's always going to be said no matter what. Don't expand the tournament because it's good. Well, there's a lot of good things that get expanded that are still very good, and I think the tournament would be still very good if it was expanded. You have to remember, no matter what you expand to, whatever number, after one weekend, you're still down to 64 teams, and you'll have eliminated a few bad ones at that time.
Dick, you agree with that?
I totally disagree. I respect Jimmy with a great deal of, he has a great deal of integrity, he loves the game, and if I were a coach, I'd be speaking like Jim Boeheim as well. I don't think a coach can be very objective on a scenario because, number one, it's to give guys more opportunities to be in a tournament. Jimmy makes the case about the 3 teams like Siena and Northern. Most likely they would have probably been in had they lost their conference tournament, but they didn't say that didn't happen. Are you serious when you tell me about 96? It was projected that to be 13 teams from the Big East that would have been in the tournament. Joe Lenardi did a projection. 13 teams. What is the purpose of playing this season? Number one. Number two, you talk about watering down a product. Why tempt with something that has been so phenomenal? The unbelievable spirit that exists for 1 month with the arguments about a team being on a bubble and then battling about a 60-something. That makes the beauty of the essence of what the tournament is. To expand it to 96 teams would bring it down to total mediocrity beyond belief. It should be a reward for the season. You should get a reward and motivated and inspired to want to be part of something so special, not just handed down. Do you think, for example, North Carolina and Connecticut would have deserved to be in a tournament this year? Give me a break. I don't think it makes any logic, any sense. It's purely done for one reason, and when it's going to happen, it happens because the almighty dollar always gets number one priority. It is greed, it is dollars, it's dollars and dollars, and it makes no logic. Hey, Jim, if you guys want to do a great thing for college basketball, you should sit down, take that same passion you have about expanding, and get the one and done wiped out from the game. Because the one and done is a joke. We should sit down with the NBA and get the NBA to understand it's not fair to the John Walls, not fair to the kids that want to go out of high school. They should be allowed to go. And then once a kid gets in school, like baseball, should have to stay for 3 years to give more stability. That is an area that needs to be concerned with, not the expansion of the tournament. Hey, I could go on in this all day.
Well, the first thing about what you're talking about, the NBA, Dick, we have nothing to do with that. We can't legislate the NBA.
No, but we can sit down. We can sit down with them and to talk with them about that issue.
We have talked with them. We have talked with them. The players are not interested in it, and I don't think the NBA is either. But as far as the tournament, you know, you can argue about this forever and ever. 96 teams or whatever number, 80 teams, 72. There's 350 schools in the NCAA, and I'm not saying we need a tournament of 96. That may happen. I think we need an expansion. I've said that for many years. I'm passionate about it for about 10 minutes every 2 weeks when I talk on the phone to somebody. That's the only time I'm passionate about it. And everybody keeps saying, and you keep saying, the coaches, what about the 15 players on each one of those 5 or 6 schools that could have been in the tournament? That's the experience for those players that I think they're missing, that I think they deserve, because I think Virginia Tech's a tournament team. I think that Illinois could be a tournament team. But so I think there's some really good teams left out under the present system, and I'd love to see them in it. Whatever we get expanded to or not, we'll still have a great tournament. I'm absolutely confident of that. And the one thing I don't want to do is to keep a tournament the way it is so that Joe Lunardi and all you people can talk about it for a month. I really don't think that's a good reason not to expand the tournament, just because you want to talk about the bubble for a month. I think that's not a real quality reason.
Andy, I want to get to logistics here real quickly. You would have to cram 16 more games in if you expand the field to 96. What would the tournament format look like with 96 teams?